going to try to make it happen this week. Oh, here it goes, boys. Here it goes. We've been on this part.
There's my arrow. It's completely drenched in blood.
Well, it's the opening day of the general season archery hunt. I decided to go for archery this year and start getting into it. I've been seeing a couple nice bucks, a couple 4 points, and one that's kind of a 3x5, kind of different looking, but I really want to go after him. And we got a nice setup here, and so let's cross our fingers and hopefully we can get something to come in. I think they make this loop pretty regular, but they may not come right here every time, so we'll see what we can do. We're sitting in the blind tonight. The buck was in here last night. We have 1 hour. So, hopefully we can get something to come in. We kind of bumped some does coming in here, but I think that we still have a chance of something coming in because it's still pretty early.
So this is my first year really getting serious about archery hunting mule deer on a general season unit. Finding a 160 to 180 class mule deer is doing really good, let alone to shoot one with your bow. And so I was able to find 2 bucks that in my mind I'd be really happy to harvest with a bow on this unit. Throughout the month of July and the first week of August, I was able to put somewhat of a pattern on the 2 bucks that I was going after. My first buck I wanted to go after was a 3x5, kind of had some weird trash going on. And the other one was just a solid 4-point with short G2s on the back. Both I'd be very happy to harvest on a general season unit with my bow. I was able to pattern them a little bit going up through this saddle from time to time, and I figured if I could get a blind in that saddle, I could catch them going into their bed one of the mornings. Opening morning rolled around before I knew it, and that morning I was hunting by myself, and I was just glassing, trying to locate the deer because I hadn't seen him for a while. And I ended up locating the 2 bucks I was going after and several others that they were with, and they ended up feeding right through the saddle and right by my blind where I had it set up. After day 1, I knew that I had to spend every chance I could in the blind. Throughout the early part of the hunt, my dad was able to spend some time with me in the blind, and we had some great times there, and we had some does coming in from time to time, but no bucks. And we were kind of starting to wonder if they'd ever come back, but deep down I knew that they would. Well, I had been sitting in the blind for about 5 or 6 days now, and all I had seen was does coming in and making their pass through the saddle, and Reggie was across the canyon from me, and he occasionally glassed these bucks up, but they weren't coming into the area that I was in. Day 7 rolled around, and I happened to be in the blind by myself, and it was really early. I got into the blind way before daylight, and I happened to kind of doze off, resting my eyes from being tired from sitting in the blind so much. And I looked down at my phone, and I had a text from Reggie saying that the bucks were coming. He told me the short G2 buck that I was after was in the group of bucks coming right towards my blind. And the number 1 buck wasn't, but I was still really pumped about them coming into the blind and giving me an opportunity. At this point, I was not even ready, or let alone didn't even have my release on, and so by the time the bucks got to me, they were all right there within 20 yards of my blind, and they were all on high alert. From Reggie's angle, you couldn't see the blind because it was behind the cedar tree, but they were all right there milling around. From Reggie's perspective, he thought I had already shot and possibly missed. But in reality, I drew back my bow, and a smaller buck had actually stepped in my shooting lane, preventing me from taking my shot. And so I tried to hold my draw as long as I could, but I ended up letting the draw down, and when that happened, all the deer just bolted. Really, they didn't quite know what was going on, and they were all looking around. Maybe they didn't know what happened, and they were still within archery range. So I quickly ranged the deer again. The short G2 buck was still within archery range and standing broadside with a perfect opportunity. I quickly ranged him and drew back and let the arrow fly, and the last thing I remember seeing was that arrow just sinking into the kill zone.
That was pretty awesome. We've been after this buck for 6 straight days and watched him all summer. He's our number 2 buck, kind of a heavy, short G2s, big fronts. Probably 5-6-year-old deer, but a solid buck. Figured if this buck presented us with the shot like he did this morning, then we should probably shoot him. And I sit across Kane and watched it all happen and videoed it with the Canon on the scope cam.
You know, he's got pretty front forks, kind of short on the back, his G2s, but I'm happy with him. You know, he's my first archery buck ever. Got the Horn Hunter pack all loaded up, and we're ready to head out.
It's not easy to harvest a mature mule deer with a bow on any unit. And so for me to harvest this solid 4-point buck on this general season unit, I feel it's a big accomplishment and a goal that I was able to reach for this hunt.